This week on CountryMusicJunkies.com, we have a new country artist to introduce to you all. He is from Alaska. His name is Doug Briney. Doug, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Patrice, for having me on.
Now, you're from Alaska, which is not the typical cowboy haven, or at least what most people would think of being a country kind of area. So do you want to kind of give us a little bit of a spiel of where you came from and how you got into country music?
Sure thing. Well, I grew up in Southern California. We spent, and my dad still lives there where I grew up. We spent 4 years after college in Michigan and moved up to Alaska since then. We've been here about 21 years, and I've been involved in music my entire life, within church music and leading worship and everything else. And about 5 years ago, I got real serious, branching out of the church and getting more involved in the country music scene.
Excellent. Now, your sound, maybe I'll let you describe it. I have my own views of it. But how would you describe your sound? Because it is very different than what we would typically hear, but you provide your own twist to it. So how would you describe your sound?
I tell people I'm positive country.
That's good. Hey, we need a lot of that.
Yeah, I tell folks I'm positive country. As far as the sound goes, I'm kind of a mix of new and old. I'm kind of a blend.
Exactly. Are there any artists that you tend to be influenced by, or that you are a huge fan of and kind of try to emulate in some kind of way?
I don't know that I try to emulate, but I definitely, there's a lot of influence there. Older influences that I grew up listening to were Eddie Arnold. I grew up, my dad had Eddie Arnold albums. My first album was Kenny Rogers, and then Lee Greenwood, Alabama, Larry Gatlin and the Gatlin Brothers. More modern influences, folks that I listen to a lot now, would be Toby Keith, a lot of Ronnie Dunn and Chris Young. A lot of Ronnie Dunn or Brooks and Dunn and then and Chris Young. So those would be more modern influences, and I think you take on some of that, even though you're not really trying to emulate them. I don't want to sound like them, but I want to sound like myself. But at the same time, those influences certainly come through.
Well, you picked definitely a great roster of country music artists, new and old as well, so that was a great kind of overview of your music. Now let's talk about your own music. Your first single was More Than Just a Farm. Do you want to go over a little bit about that song and how that came to be?
Sure. More Than Just a Farm to me is it's a great song about life and learning kind of some of life's lessons, and it's set in the backdrop of a farm, a working farm, and I fell in love with the song right away because it really reminded me of my grandfather's farm. When I was 13, I got to go spend the summer with my grandfather on a small farm in south central Illinois, and it just reminded me of my life and growing up and having that opportunity to spend that time on my grandfather's farm. And it's just a fun song that I think folks can relate to, and you learn some of those lessons.
Absolutely. Now, your most recent single is It's All Country. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that one?
Sure. It's All Country is a great song, talking about the differences between the old and new country, and kind of the gap that is there, and the fact that it is all country. It blends. You have old influences, you have new influences, and it's still country, and it's an evolving thing all the time. The sound is evolving. I mean, if you listen to country music, from 50 years ago, and then listen to it from 40 years ago, then come 30 years ago, and then 20, and then 10, and to today, the sound has changed, but the roots are all still the same, and that's what the song talks about.
Well, there you go. That's great. Now, Doug, if fans want to check out your music, how can they do that?
Send them directly to www.dougbriney.com. That's DOUGBRINEY.com. And we have links to our Facebook, we have links to Twitter, we have links to Reverb Nation. We got all of the links are there, but they can go directly to the music page at DougBriney.com, and the music is there. They can listen to it. They can order from the website if they want a physical copy of that CD, and I'll mail it out to them signed directly to them, or they can get the link there to the iTunes, Amazon, and all the different links there, and do the digital downloads as well.
Excellent. Well, Doug, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and we look forward to staying in touch with you.
Thank you so much, Patrice. Y'all have a great day.